What is up, everybody? It is 2025. It is a new year. And, at the start of each new year, everybody talks about travel, right? They want to go places, all the things they want to see and do this year. Well, I've got a good friend of mine who's actually done the things. Marwa,
Hey there. How are you?
hello. You're actually my first repeat guest, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
Yay!
Because for those that haven't seen it, she was actually the first employee I've hired twice. That's a fun video. Go check it out to learn more about that. No, reason I brought Marwa here is she has done the things. She recently finished living abroad for over 400 days.
That's
So we're
right.
going to deep dive into that, everything that goes with it, and excited to learn more about your travels, the good, the bad, and the shocks in between. So yeah, a
All
little bit,
right.
Marwa, tell us about yourself for the people that don't know you.
I am a Pakistani American. I've lived in Denver for about a decade now, and I am a payroll specialist by trade. So this is how we met. We are
Yep,
HR people. The people you hate and love at the same time.
exactly. The funny thing about payroll is nobody ever says thank you, but the moment their
Yes,
paycheck is wrong, they suddenly know
yes,
your name.
yes. I like to say that I am invisible, and I would like to be invisible all the time if possible.
100%. But no, thank you for agreeing to do this with me. Travel, you've clearly done a lot of it recently. You got all the stamps in your book, in your passport.
I
So, I know
have,
the big thing
yes.
for the big trip like you just had is the why, right? Like what got you out for so long?
Well, the why is my partner.
Okay.
My boyfriend, yes. When we met on Hinge, and his profile talked about traveling the world and him wanting to do that. And I said, oh, that's cool. I love to travel. And, that'd be nice. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out with him. Of course, at the time, I hadn't even met him. I hadn't even matched with him. But we met, and we were living together at the time when I mean, he kept on talking about it throughout the relationship, even before we'd actually traveled together. And so I said to him, well, we have to do a weekend away first before we travel together. Like, you have
See if they
people.
pass the vibe test. Make
Yes,
sure they're not a
the
serial
vibe
killer. All
test.
the all
Yes,
the
and there's a
important things.
travel partner vibe test. That's way different than anybody you meet up with for lunch or dinner or whatever, and you spend a few hours together, and that's it. But then, are your friends also somebody you can travel with? It's a whole different dimension, I would say. It's just a whole different thing. Um, so yeah, we traveled a lot together. Probably the most I've traveled, you know, when after coming to the US, I guess I would say. I mean, I've lived in Saudi Arabia before, so I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and then I went to the UK to study, and then I came to the US. I didn't travel a lot in the US, just a few states here and there. That was it. But yeah, with him, we traveled quite a bit, and life was just routine and boring and the same old all the time. And this was something that I wanted to do too. I wanted to travel. Yes, going to other places and exploring different cultures and food and all of it. And I just said, yeah, you know what? Let's just do it because it's now or never. I didn't
No,
want to
if you
travel when I was 65 and in pain and not able to
oh,
walk
that's the worst.
places, and I still maybe had bills to pay, and I still hadn't retired, or I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know what, and I don't even know if I would make it to 65.
No, absolutely. Those are all good points, and I want to deep dive into each of them a little bit more here. Now, the
Okay.
first one you talked about is, travel partner vibe test is different than a lunch partner vibe test. What
Yes.
does that look like to you? And because I have a very similar story from my time in Iceland with a friend.
So I am the kind of person who likes to do a lot when traveling. So even on a 1 week vacation that we get in the US, I'd be like, okay, yeah, what are we doing this day? What are we doing? Where are we gonna go? What are we gonna see? Um, and not somebody who sleeps in, who lays on the beach and reads a book during her vacation. So if I have a partner like that, it will not work out because all they'd want to do is just chill out, relax, and sleep in, and I'd be up and be like, let's get ready. We gotta get going.
Never understood the go someplace else to do nothing mentality of traveling.
Me
It's like you're
neither.
in
Yes.
this new state, this new city, this new country, whatever it is. It's like go see the things. Like if you want to have some time to relax, do nothing, like I support that. But like you're in a new place you may or may not ever come back to. Like go
I
see what's
don't
out
want
there.
to pay thousands of dollars on flights and hotels to then just go and not actually see the place.
No, never.
Right? I mean, if I want to actually chill out, I would do a staycation. I would just take time off and just stay at home and chill out at home with my comfort things, my couch and,
Hmm.
my bed rather than some random bed in some random hotel.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
save
So
the money
so
for
yeah.
something else.
So we ended up being similar in that way. Because we want to see places, we want to do things, we want to actually explore, we want to be out there, and but of course, this was year long. It's not like every single day we were doing something because that's just not possible. That's not how it goes.
Mm.
So this was, extended travel, totally different than your week-long vacation.
Yeah.
Also living together, because this was us sharing a space literally for 24/7, 365.
So
And only really knowing each other in almost all the countries we went to.
yeah, I think that leads to a good point of you're there with your partner. Let's talk on the partnership just a little bit more. How long have you and Chris known each other?
We, at the time that we started, I think we were about, what, 2.5 years in together?
Okay. So
Yeah,
a
about a year
pretty
of living
long-term
together.
relationship at this point.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And
So
now
you've
it's
got
about 4 years in. Yeah.
now about 4 years in. So you've got, the basics of the relationship down. Like clearly you two like each other if you've been two and a
Yes.
half years in at this point, right?
Yes. We lived
So how did
together, we worked remotely together in the US, so we had been used to the 24/7 kind of thing too.
and that's exactly what I was about to ask you because yeah, the 24/7, always with each other for just about everything. Um, So you go from doing that in the States to doing that abroad. How did that change the relationship any, or did it?
It did, I think. I mean, of course, over here, we still had our friends, our families, our lives outside. Like, I could just drive over somewhere and, see my friends and do all of that. And, so could he. We had two cars at the time, and, we were free to do whatever we wanted. And then we also had more space in the home. That's not always the case. When you're traveling, you have one hotel room, maybe sometimes, or you have a small studio Airbnb. So you have to just be okay with that. Um, I think there were, new things, new discoveries about each other, definitely. Random discoveries, I guess. And at a certain point, I mean, you're human, you get used to things. And then it's like, okay, I'm okay with this. There's
Right.
annoyances, there's things that, bother us about each other. And I think the biggest thing that came out of it was probably that the fights decreased over time, to the point of like almost never fighting.
That's true. I mean, if you spend that much time abroad, it's like, what is there really worth arguing about at this point, right?
I mean, there
And
still
like
are
the reason I
things
say that is this,
sometimes.
like, I
Yeah.
think being abroad really changes perspective on a lot of things. And clearly you grew up abroad, so you know what I'm talking about, but how I'm sure you can relate to this. People who have like never left the United States for whatever reason, like clearly we have 50 states. You can see a whole diversity of things here without ever leaving.
Right.
But I think when somebody elevates their travel experience to go from the States to anywhere abroad, it doesn't matter. It could be Canada,
Hmm.
Canada, Europe, take your place. Their perspective shifts on a lot of things because they start to, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like they're what they expect gets challenged and it shows them
Hmm.
this isn't the only way to do something, whatever that may be.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. I think. for me, it was, I don't know, I felt very welcomed everywhere we went, which was surprising to me. I
Sure.
thought, we'd be the dumb Americans, and here they come. They don't know a word of our language. And, we're going to be rude to them and all of that. Or, I don't know, just all the perceptions, all the stereotypes that you hear about for a lot of countries. And none of that, like kindness throughout, friendliness throughout. It was amazing. It was amazing to just experience that. It was, it felt like, yes, I mean, I felt very privileged, of course. I have an American passport. And, I can basically enter any country without a visa and kind of, be welcomed and be like, hey, stay here for 90 days or, whatever.
Right.
And, not everybody has that advantage either. Like we Americans, I feel we have a great passport and, of course, privileged otherwise too, just being able to do this.
Oh yeah, the American passport. I think there's only a handful of passports more you can get visa-free travel to so many countries, like a Singaporean passport.
Yes.
But yeah, very very powerful, very easy for us to go in and out of countries as we see fit with minimal notice, really, because we don't have to go through a visa application process. We don't have to do all the paperwork. It's just like, hey, I'm here. What can we do to make this work?
Yeah, and I've lived through that with my Pakistani passport. I came here on a visa, I went to the UK on a visa. And it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of hassle. And, you are in this other line of like the rest of the world, and then there's Americans and Europeans.
Yes, and if you get one thing wrong on that paperwork, it'll slow your visa down.
Oh, yeah. Or get rejected and blacklisted.
Yes, or that.
Yeah.
So you had, great access going into all of these places, but where'd you actually go for 400 days? Like,
All
talk us through your
right. Oh,
itinerary from beginning
gosh.
to
I
end
need to
in
get my phone out with the
painstaking detail.
list. Oh, my
I want to know where
gosh.
you were to the minute, Marwa.
All right. We started close to home in Mexico, in Mexico City. I am looking at my phone. I can't. My memory is terrible. I've forgotten the last year already.
You're like, I was somewhere.
I was so and then we went to Costa Rica, Panama, Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, and then across the pond to Portugal, Spain, France, Ireland, England, Scotland, Germany, and then we ended in South Korea and then came back.
Okay, so a lot of South America, a lot of Europe, a little bit of Asia in there.
Yes, just the one. Yeah.
So how was the itinerary crafted? Was it just like we're crafting this a year in advance? Was it just made up on the fly? What was the thought
It
process that went into
was.
this?
So I think about 10 or so months before, like when I basically put a deadline on it. I am somebody who works with deadlines. I mean, I do payroll as my job. I don't know. I need a deadline to be able to accomplish
I
something.
can confirm she needs deadlines.
So I put a deadline on it. I think in either like October or November of 2022. I said September 1st, 2023, we are going to leave the US. And
Okay,
we actually left a day early. Our flight changed.
so you
I
got to
left
leave and
on
your
August
flight changed.
31st. That was the first time ever that my flight has changed by a whole day. We had to get an extra night at the Airbnb.
I guess that is fitting for the departure to be like, if you're going to be off a day, it's going to be this one.
I mean, this, so any plan. This was the lesson. Any plan you make, it is possible that it will change. And I don't. I think I've lived my life making all these plans for myself, and then I have lived a totally different life. It's not based on those plans at all. Like I didn't imagine I would go and travel the world. I mean the world, not really, but yes.
You've
So yeah,
traveled
so we
most of the
started
world in this
planning.
trip.
Yeah, we started planning about, yeah, a year in advance. I would say, yeah, like 10, 11 months in advance. um, and we had about 6 months or so planned, and we had to plan it because we wanted to stay in the summer, um, like throughout in all the places we were going. So of course, we started with Mexico City. We wanted to also stay in the same time zone. I didn't want to start off with jet lag. It's a terrible start to a trip.
Yes.
So we said, okay, let's go to Mexico City. And so we started in Mexico City, 3 hour flight from Denver,
Is that it?
and about 3.5 hours, I think. Yeah, something
I
like
don't know why I
that.
thought it'd be more than that.
Me too. Me too. I was
So,
like, wow, this is so close, and it's great. Um, yeah, so we had, of course we planned. I mean, I own a condo here in Denver, so we had to plan on what we're going to do with that. I planned the rental and had to sell our things, sold our cars, stored some of our things that we did want to keep, like my clothes, our personal items, our bed. It's like, am I gonna come back and buy a new bed? I don't know. Would I have money back then? Would I have a job?
you're like, if nothing else, I need at least a place to sleep.
I do, yes. And I had my condo, so like I rented it out. The whole planning started as to like, how are we going to do this? What's the best route? How do we how do we pay for the flights? Like, do we want to use credit card points? We also started building up credit card points, doing all of that too at the same time. And of course, change banks to Charles Schwab because they don't have any foreign ATM transaction fees, any foreign fees at all. Great bank, plug to Charles Schwab.
They're not sponsoring this podcast, by the way.
Let's
Even though they
ask them
should.
to.
Charles
No.
Schwab, call us.
Yeah, a lot of planning went into it, and apparently I lost I don't know, I lost the will to actually like dress up and do all the daily things and meet up with friends here in my present day life in the US at that time during the planning stages. It was a lot. It was this whole like Google Doc list of things to do, and you gotta get
Oh,
this
yeah.
done and get this done. So yeah, a whole lot went into it, and then we took that list and we reverted it to, okay, going back, we're gonna have to do all of these things in the reverse order now. We have to buy cars, we have to buy furniture, we have to get the tenants moved out.
So you sell all of your worldly possessions. You travel. You come back and buy more worldly possessions.
I mean, that's how it goes, right?
That's
You
how it
need the
goes.
stuff. You need the stuff to live. But it
Exactly.
is it is surprising on how little you can live on also. So we had one small carry-on each and one backpack each throughout this journey. I hate those clothes right now. I have not looked at them. Don't want to wear those clothes again.
Are they about to find their way to Goodwill?
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to, because they're travel clothes now. They're just meant for travel. So this is where travel live.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you had a dedicated bag. You're like, this is all I'm wearing for the next year.
Pretty much. Yes. I
I
mean,
mean,
of course, it's not like other countries do not have clothes and you cannot buy more.
no, no. And I'm sure if
But
anything got damaged, you'd be like, we'll just replace it with whatever country we're in and move on.
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got everything sold. You're like, hey, we've got fat stacks of cash. We're going to travel. But you also had a remote job, so that obviously made it significantly easier.
Yes.
Started in Mexico City. So, from Denver to Mexico City, I'm imagining there was quite a bit of culture shock in there.
Yes. It is, first of all, 22 million people. It is the largest North American city. And that's, I mean, I haven't experienced that many people before.
22 million?
22 million. Yes, it is a massive city. It's so that was, I mean, it was great, like we went in the evening, and of course near the airport it's it's a little iffy, but as we got to so we stayed in the historic district. Of course, we
Okay.
decided that we were going to not worry about 5 flights of stairs, which was good because we started off, very strong.
So you gave yourself immediate cardio when you got there. No,
Yes, and
you went to.
also elevation. So I had no idea that Mexico City was actually 7,000 feet higher than sea level, higher than Denver is. It thankfully it helped us because everybody else around us would be puffing up, like just walking up any like even one flight of stairs, and we were fine because we were used to the higher elevation just from Denver. I had no idea about that. That was new to me.
The more you talk, the more I'm like, I don't actually know much about Mexico City because I didn't realize there was 22 million people. I didn't realize it was at 7,000 feet. Because like here in Nashville, I'm at like 1,000 feet above sea level, so I'd be that person who'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, it's fine, it's fine,"
Yeah, but you
even
lived
though
in
I'm dying from
Denver.
lack of air. Yeah, but I haven't lived in Denver for a year and a half now, 2 years now.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, again, these were all things new to me too. When we went there,
Yeah.
you learned so much. Almost every city we went to, we would do a walking tour. So then we'd get kind of the lay of the land, and just get to know some history,
Hmm.
things like that. So yes, that was part of thing. I think we did that pretty much in almost every city that we went to, and then some
Yeah.
cities we only just did the walking tour because that's the only time we had there was just to do a walking
Hmm.
tour and get to see everything real quick.
Yeah. So you go to Mexico, you do the walking tour up front. How long were you down in Mexico City?
A month at a
A month.
time, most places. Yes.
Okay. So you've got a month in Mexico City. How did your day to day change? Because, was it similar to being in the States or did it take on a totally different pace?
It was totally different. Breakfast was still at home, kind of, but then we could just walk out and right at our doorsteps. There's so many places to just have lunch at for just quick, and also just for $5 possibly. It's so cheap. And then it was. I mean, Mexico City. We definitely had a lot more fun because we were um, much more. It was just new. He just got out of the US. It was the first place, and we were excited to just do everything and go places. So we were obviously eating out a lot. But then that kind of curbed later on. We definitely buy groceries and things like that. So it was we would just kind of settle in, and it was home. Every place was kind of like home for a month, and we'd get unpacked and we'd get settled. We'd find the grocery stores, we'd find the public transportation. What are we going to do for are we going to take Uber, are you going to use public transportation? I wouldn't recommend the buses in Mexico City
Why
unless you want
not?
to be just crushed by people.
Overpack.
Oh my gosh, massively overpacked. We kept missing our stop. We couldn't get through to get out the
That is rough. So if you're stuck on the bus, you miss your stop to try and get off later.
Not always, but my gosh, yes. And of course, I'm guessing we ended up maybe during rush hour or something, and that was no good. Yeah,
Wild.
we were a little unprepared to begin with, and then things. It definitely changed. Um, of course, it not added novelty to the daily life. Like here it's just the same, and you're sitting cooped up working possibly, or you're commuting to work, and of course it's none of that happening for us, so we are kind of free to do what we want, um, and also have, I don't know, easier access. Unlike the US, a lot of places are not car centric. There's a lot more public transportation, there's a lot more walkability, and it was just easier to just like head outside your place and then just go have dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever, and be home in an hour or so instead of having
Mhm.
to drive over 30 minutes somewhere and all of that.
There is something to be said about walkable cities that once people experience it, they're like, "Oh, this is amazing." Because, like you said, being able to walk or take reasonable transit places, it's like, oh, okay. Because when you're on a train or whatever, you can read, you can do whatever. You don't have to deal with yelling at people while you're stuck on the interstate. And you just get there, efficiently, quickly, go about your day, get your things and leave. And it's again something like I said earlier, when you travel abroad for the first time and you experience these things, you're like, oh, this is great. It's something
Yes, yes,
I think what we're getting at is people need to travel more.
if you can, yes. If you're young and you could get into those programs, definitely try and do those. Where it's cheap travel, cheap group travel, and things like that. Um, and it is hard. It's definitely hard if you have a full time job, um, and you only get 2 weeks of vacation. It's really hard to do that. And this is why, I said that, okay, we have to do this, and this is an opportunity to do it, quit my job, and, you know, went for it because there wasn't any way that I was getting a remote job that would work with this kind of schedule in a way, or, this many countries. And, um, it was just never going to happen otherwise. There's life to live.
Hmm.
You have to make money, you have to have a job. It's difficult. But you definitely, try and get out of the US or wherever you are. Try and get out of your own local comfort zone, I guess.
Yes, bringing your comfort zone, like that's where the magic happens. You realize how resilient you are, how uncomfortable you can be and still be fine. You figure out things in a country where you don't know the language. You're like, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Technology helps a lot. This
Oh,
thing,
Google
this
Translate app is
thing,
so great
this
these
thing
days.
is like, oh my gosh, yes, Google Translate, take a picture of the menu, you got it. You can even talk into it and, have a whole conversation. Could not have
Yes.
done it without it. I couldn't have traveled in the old days without maps, without Google reviews. Like I needed to know where I'm gonna eat, whether I could get sick from this food or not.
No, it's all valid. Like Google, with all their data, like they can solve so many problems traveling logistically.
Yes, and even, some countries' public transportation would be, tied into Google Maps. And that
Hmm.
was extremely helpful for us because, I mean, you're trying to search for something that is local and is possibly, like you have to. I mean, yes, it helped that the laptops and everything, it ties to your location and then starts searching and it gives you the relevant search results, which helps you. But again, it's a lot to figure out and we didn't. I mean, we wouldn't do massive research beforehand. And I mean, the research we did was okay. Yeah, where are we gonna stay? Which part of town are we gonna stay? What is going to be walkable for us? What is going to be good in that way? But other than that, there wasn't a lot put into everything. I would do that like a week before we were heading to the next place and just kind of figure out a little bit.
Hmm.
But it wasn't over planned either. It was planned enough that yes, we are not going to be stranded somewhere, but it wasn't over planned to the point of like I know every single thing.
And I think when people overplan, they limit themselves to other opportunities.
But
Because I'm
yes,
very much the traveler where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in whatever place for a day, a week, whatever the case is. For that time period, here's the main things I want to hit. This museum, this restaurant, blah blah blah, whatever it is. Everything else, I'm like, let's just kind of freestyle, see where the day takes us.
yes, no, that's true. That's right. And sometimes some weekends would be planned and others wouldn't be. And it's like, okay, well, we'll see what we want to do. Like, one day in England, we just woke up and they're like, oh, we could get to Stonehenge. Let's go.
Yeah, just go off to Stonehenge, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't need every moment planned. I think it
Yeah.
takes away the magic too, because there comes a point where you're fighting your calendar because you're like, we said we're going to do this at 4 o'clock. It's 3:58, and that's 30 minutes away. It's like, just stop. It'll still be there when you get there in 30 minutes. It'll be there in an hour. It'll be there in a week. It doesn't matter.
Yes, yes. And that was somebody said to me that wherever you travel to, leave something undone so you can come back for it. And, obviously we did leave a lot of things to go back and do again.
Round 2 coming soon to a theater near you.
Yes. I do want to keep on doing this. No.
Oh, for sure. So you went, Denver to Mexico, then you spent a lot of time in South America. What
Mhm.
were some of the high points of your time in South America?
Oh gosh, the literal high point was Ecuador. Physically about 10,000 feet or so. I've never had altitude sickness before, and that was interesting. Gosh, we were just laid up in bed watching a terrible movie and headaches and just drinking water. Like, when is this going to be okay?
Have you ever seen the cans of like Just Air for elevation sickness?
I have. I've seen those. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I
they have them in all the mountain towns around Colorado. I'm sure you've seen them, but
Yeah, I had no idea because I mean, we do go on higher elevation here, but we already at higher elevation and then we go a little bit higher. So I don't think I get altitude sickness, but that was going from places at sea level to then, Ecuador was in January of 2024. And so we'd left behind Mexico City, and so it was sudden. It's like, oh gosh, we went from sea level to like 10,000 feet or something. And that was
that's true. That
crazy.
is quite a big change in one shot.
Yes. I think, I mean, I don't want to say that, like one particular place was a high. We had, uh, like almost the majority of the trip was great compared to the lows that we had.
Okay.
Um, I'd say, I guess, I mean, of course, Mexico City, just because we did it. We're out. We've started this. Lisbon, that was first step in
Mm.
Europe. So that was amazing. But also, I loved Portugal overall. We traveled a little bit into different cities there. Portugal was amazing. Lyon, I don't know, it was the French little markets and all of that. That was amazing. Yeah, so many highs is my point. Like, I think
Okay.
if you go out there and you're traveling, I think you would have way more fun than you think that you would have like trouble or problems. Unless, I guess, if you get robbed on the first day and then you're like, oh god.
And I guess it does happen. We all see the stories about scam artists abroad taking advantage of the tourists.
Yes, yes. Be street smart, obviously. I mean, I'm a woman. I don't know. I'm born with it. To not take risks, to not, put myself in
Yeah.
situations of danger. Um, Obviously, be aware of your surroundings and do not put your phone in your back pocket, things like that. Like, my phone was my lifeline. Like, of course, without my phone, I was going to be unable to do anything.
So you talk about street smarts, a few things, don't put your phone in your back pocket, says, et cetera. But, and you touched on something that, candidly just calling it out, how I perceive things as a man is wildly different than how you perceive them. So talk through some of your experiences compared to your partners.
I think I would always be aware of like catcalling and things like that. Being in a space with a lot of men. I don't think that my partner would ever think of that, or ever like, maybe to me it's different. Um, and I mean, of course, you get us to like some things, locking the doors, something that he has just, I don't know, doesn't really care about it as much.
What the?
Just locking the
Regardless,
front.
that blows my mind because I get home and immediately that door is locked when I'm inside. Like,
I don't know. There's a certain sense of security that men have already, just being men, and that women do not have that sense of security. And to me, it is, like locking the door. Making sure I have a security alarm or something. You can't, and of course, we were traveling with carry-ons. You can't carry mace, anything. Mace is also illegal in some countries. And also, it's not exactly a thing that you can use a lot of times. Like, a security alarm gives you enough time to just run. Like,
this is
carrying
true.
that with me, holding it in my hand at times if I'm feeling like I would be, in a space that maybe like, dangerous walking. Just walking around in general, being in crowds is different. Yeah, because I'm always worried about being groped. And, I don't think he ever worries about that. Like, I don't think that's a worry for him in that sense. Um, and then what else? Very aware of also how I dress. You know, I
Also,
I had mostly like modest clothing throughout the time that I was traveling. But, when I was wearing a dress or something, there was a little sense of insecurity, a little bit of a fear of like, okay, where am I gonna be? Is this gonna be okay? And not, I mean, of course, not everywhere, but still, it's something that I think about as a woman. I think compared to a lot of men, like I don't think you have to think about, oh, can I wear shorts to this place?
no, and I mean it's the unfortunate reality, but you're not wrong. Like majority of the stuff has never crossed my mind. I mean, I worry about how I dress in general, so that I do think about a little bit more, but not in the context of you for sure.
Right. Yeah. And it is, I mean, it probably isn't a thing that matters as much in a lot of places, but um, I am, of course, very much aware of, um, how I'm being looked at by anybody around me. Just looking at people and like just kind of just being aware of that. And then, of course, walking out alone, that was something that I had a little bit of difficulty doing. It wasn't the US. I just couldn't hop in my car and drive over and be okay. Just walking around solo was something that took a little getting used to for me. And I did think I did a lot of solo walking. It just, I mean, I probably would have if I was, of course, traveling alone, but, I was with my partner and we would try and just go together most places.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to sneeze so bad right now.
Sorry, we're coming up to the end almost here.
Yeah, and if we run long, like
Okay.
unless you have a hard stop.
It's about at 11:15 or so. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be done in about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll edit this part out.
Yes.
Awesome. So you spent, a lot of time South America, alert, always trying new things. But you also had a lot of great times. Talk us through some of your like highlight experiences down there. Was it food, museums, driving?
Yes.
Like what was that for you?
I think the food definitely was a highlight in a lot of places. I mean, of course, it's the life. Like, I love food. I enjoy going out to trying new things. So obviously, I had a list of restaurants for every place we went to. Like, we gotta try this. So we gotta try this. um, the best one was in Ecuador. This little tiny restaurant in like a totally random, I think, neighborhood, and they had an amazing tasting menu. That
Okay.
was, I think, what was it? Like their local food from all over the country in a way. They had like, oh, this is from the south, this is from the north. And the server spoke perfect English and she explained every single dish to us. It was like the most amazing experience we had. Um, and then, funnily enough, in Lisbon, we had amazing ramen, like the spiciest ramen I have ever had.
That's
This
fun. That's
place
fun. I mean,
called,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, this place called Panda Ramen. Um, that was basically with just one communal table, and no reservations, no takeout. Just you have to just put your name down, wait for it, and have the most amazing ramen you've ever had.
I'm in. Let's make reservations. I'm going.
No reservations.
What's that?
No reservations.
No reservations. Well,
No
we'll commit to the
reservations.
bit.
You have to wait.
That's fine. Awesome. So the food everywhere you went just sounds amazing. You had so much good food.
The
No,
views.
it's
The
the
views.
views.
Yeah. I think we ended up going to a high point or the tallest building or whatever at almost every single city and just taking in the views. I don't know, doesn't get old. It really
No,
doesn't. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. A good view is a good view. Like you'll always appreciate it.
Yes. I mean, museums, maybe they get a little old sometimes because kind of the same things over and over again sometimes. Um,
That's one thing I have to disagree with you on because here, obviously I grew up in the States. So the using World War II as an example, the history I got on World War II was very much we stayed out of it until Pearl Harbor, then we
mhm,
went in and kicked everybody's ass because that's the version we were told. But when I was in Sweden, a couple months ago in October,
mhm.
I went to the Swedish History Museum there, and they had a stellar World War II exhibit. And they talked about a few of the things like this is what brought America into the war, etc. But all the other things they talked about from a European perspective, I was like, oh, this is not the version of history I was taught by any means.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably true. Yes. I think maybe I mean in the sense of because we were going to similar countries in a way with the histories that they kind of share in terms of, Spain colonization, things like that. Um, but also it is a lot of information to take in. And if you're doing month to month and then you go into like museum to museum to museum, they don't stand out as much in those senses. But I think there were some museums, of course, that was amazing. Like the Museum of Conferences in Lyon was amazing. Probably the best museum I've ever been to. The Archaeological Museum, I think, in Mexico City. Again, my memory fails me a lot, so thankfully I have thousands of pictures.
Oh yeah, no, I kept up with your pictures when you were posting. They were all stellar. I was living vicariously
Thank you.
through you for this whole thing.
Thank you. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, I think that's, I mean, yes, I remember the food highlights. Sometimes I remember, like, oh my gosh, like how it tasted, and it has forever spoiled some foods for me here. Thankfully, sushi, not so much. Couldn't really find good sushi, or I don't know, American style sushi, maybe.
Really?
I don't. Oh my gosh, not in Latin America for sure. It was pretty bad, and we stopped trying. At times, like it wasn't the chilled, cold American style sushi that I'm used to because I've mainly had sushi in the U.S.
Yeah.
I didn't have sushi growing up. I tried it once in the UK and it was whatever. And then, in the US, the last 10 years I've lived here, I've had sushi here a lot and I love it. And then I go out of the US and try sushi in Latin America and it's kind of warm and I'm like, what is this?
You heard it here first, folks. America has the best sushi in the world. I'm gonna catch so much flack for that in the comment section. Wait and see.
Oh gosh. No, I mean, we could have found the right spots probably. Even, I mean, the London place was okay. I mean, it's London.
Mm,
But I don't know. There was just something missing. I am unfortunately like my taste is just the American style sushi. So
fair enough. No, I can appreciate that. Like America, we bastardize food, but we make some of it so good when we do.
yes, yes, truly, yes. But I would say Indian food was almost never a letdown.
No,
Um,
that's
yeah, and I'm like, yes, I'm proud to have the kind of food that like I that is basically cross cultures across most countries. It was pretty good almost everywhere we went. So we
okay.
try and find an Indian restaurant in almost every city. Just because we missed the spice too, because a lot of places past Mexico City, past Mexico, there wasn't a lot of spice. And we love
Yeah.
our spicy food.
Spicy food's the best food. So you did a lot of all these cool things, great restaurants, great museums. For to kind of redirect, for anybody else that's wanting to do something like this, whether it's, a week at a time, a month at a time, a year at a time, what's some advice you would give them?
In terms of what though? There's so
I
many
mean, like
things.
what are the things you learned along the way where you're like, I wish I would have known this going into this, or I'm glad I picked this up along the way?
Um, I wish I had comfortable shoes always. I mean, I did. but definitely very important. Carry an umbrella because sun or rain, it is very useful, especially if it's extremely hot. It will keep you a little bit cooler. Comfortable clothes. Don't worry about what you look like. Take a lot of pictures, and because you will not remember everything. Um, and enjoy the food. Definitely enjoy the food. Take medications with you also, just in case that you can't get to a doctor, even though it's nothing like American healthcare. You could probably find a doctor pretty easily and be able to also afford it in most places.
This is true. So yeah, comfortable shoes, dress appropriately. Don't worry about standing out.
Yeah, you'll always stand out. They'll figure you out. Everybody will figure you out. I mean, even though, I don't know. I mean, I guess Chris passed as a Brazilian in most of South America, other than Brazil. I mean, I
Well,
think
no,
I passed in, from a distance, possibly, but then, my shoes were totally different than anything that, people over there would be wearing. Of course, they're not walking all the time like I was. I was wearing these sneakers that were waterproof and they looked out of place in some, with some of my clothing. I'm wearing a dress and then I'm wearing these black shoes.
right.
Not a white shoe girl. I was like, I'm not gonna have white shoes that are going
Oh,
to
white
just
shoes are
get
terrible.
absolutely destroyed in a
Yeah,
year
white
of
shoes are
travel.
terrible. But no, great shoes. I can appreciate that.
But yeah, I think and enjoy it for as much as you can. And if you don't get to do something, it is fine. You may come
Yes,
back to it, or if you don't, that is totally fine too.
absolutely. You can always go back. If something doesn't work out, just roll with it. The flight might be delayed. There's nothing you can do. Just run with it, embrace the moment.
Oh yes, a lot of that. A lot of that. Because, I mean, obviously, anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it too much. I think that was maybe one of the things that um, I would sweat a lot of the small stuff, and I still do. And that's just me.
No, for sure.
But it gets better.
Oh yeah, it'll
You
be
get
fine
over
either
it a
way.
little bit, especially after a year of doing it. Then it's like, oh.
Exactly. Embrace it. It's fine.
I remember the moment I left. I couldn't eat at the airport. Um, I
Just
was so
excited.
stressed out.
Oh,
I was so
stressed.
stressed out. I was so stressed out. I was leaving behind everything I knew, um, and then I remember the moment I was in Vancouver waiting to come back to Denver. I had no cares in the world.
You're like, whatever. This is my life at this point.
Pretty much. Airports and backpack and carry-on and flights. That was life. Yeah.
That's fun. Sounds like a wonderful time.
It was great. It was
10 out of 10
absolutely
would do again.
incredible. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, as we close out here, I hit up my friends on Instagram and I was like, hey, hit me with some questions. We'll do this kind of Q&A style. But there's one question I want to call attention to before we get into the others. And,
Okay.
this is the only person whose name I'm going to put on blast. But you asked me, hey, can I add a question for myself? I mean, of course you can, but what would you want to ask yourself?
um, no, it was just because I always respond to your posts, so I had to say
You do.
something to you.
No, you do. And I
That
appreciate
was
that.
that was all it was. I don't know what I would ask myself, honestly. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned, and I think I used to do an Instagram post on it too. Lessons learned in like at the airport. Um, I think. Well, I want to let you just go ahead with the questions from your
No, you're
friends.
good. So the first question I have here is, did you ever feel unsafe in your travels?
Yes, yes, a few times.
Talk us through that.
San Jose, Costa Rica was not exactly a safe city. Many times, just walking around, would see shifty characters, kind of, and I don't know, the overall feel, the vibe of the city seemed unsafe. I don't know if it was just our perception or if it really was that unsafe. And then let's see, trying to think of some other times that I might have felt unsafe. Mexico City, some parts of it can be a little bit, but it is such a populous city that there weren't any moments where we were isolated or alone.
Yeah.
There were always people around, so I think that was a little, yeah, it didn't feel as much, as bad.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, not too many, thankfully, not too many bad
That,
experiences there.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So next question is obviously did a lot of traveling. What was the how did you do affordable lodging, traveling so much?
I mean, I'm not the person to ask for this. We were not budget traveling. um, we did Airbnb for the most part, and we did the monthly Airbnb. So it is a minimum of 28 days, and you get a monthly
Okay.
discount. So we mostly did that. So we got a little monthly discount. For perspective, I probably pay like $1,000+ for an Airbnb for a week in the US, in
Hmm.
any of the city, in any city, I guess.
That sounds about
And
right.
I paid around that much for a whole month in most of these countries.
That's stellar.
Yeah. So it is overall cheaper. Because of course you're not spending dollar to dollar, you're spending dollar to pesos or dollar to, I don't know, euros. So and then it's also, I mean, the I think the costs are vastly different in most things. I think, yes, maybe the accommodation was the most expensive thing overall in our travels, but it still was cheaper compared to if you were just going for a week's vacation in the US and you would be paying that much for a hotel or an Airbnb, I think.
100%. So the next question we've got is, um, I'm going to rephrase this question slightly. Which country was the uncleanest?
Uncleanest. Okay. I'm trying to think.
It doesn't seem like any particular country's jumping out to you.
Sao Paulo maybe was a little bit unclean. Brazil in that sense.
Okay.
Um, Maybe, yeah. I think a lot of trash. I mean, a lot of trash in a lot of places. Nobody knows how to recycle it anywhere in the world either.
Fair
um,
enough.
yeah, I think definitely. Like, I think Mexico City was a little bit too. Um, but I think overall, like what I recall as being unclean is probably Sao Paulo. Yeah, that was
Okay.
also the middle of our travels,
Right.
so maybe it just all compounded.
Right. A melting pot of issues.
Yes.
S- So, which country had the spiciest food?
Um, Mexico. Yes.
Mexico. That doesn't
I mean,
surprise
maybe
me,
South
actually.
Korea too. We did have,
Ah,
yes, South Korea also. Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
in
some of them,
Seoul
like
we
Asian
had,
spices, will rock you.
yes. And it also depends on, like, yes, your um taste and what spice you can handle. But yeah, Asian spice to me is really, yes. So I would
It's
say, okay, so South Korea.
a
Let's do
very
that.
different game.
Yes.
And the next one is any crazy party stories?
Yes. I we don't party a lot. We are 35. We're in our 30s. I'm 35. He's 33. We do not party a lot, and also partying gets you in trouble and in unsafe situations. So that's a no-no in most places. Um, but
Fair.
we were in Cancun, and we were using our credit card points to stay at a resort. Never did that. We'll never do it again ever.
Why not?
Terrible food. Just, yeah, terrible food.
That's valid.
Yes. Um Anyway, so we met a couple there on the beach, and they were from DC. and they said they were going to this place called Coco Bongo, I think it was called.
I've
It's
heard other people mention that place, so I
yeah, okay.
immediately know this is.
So they had extra tickets for a pool party, and they said, like, come with us. We can just have fun. And I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah, we had looked at it, but we thought it was a little too expensive for what we wanted to do. And I'm like, it's probably
Yeah.
not gonna be that fun. We don't really, party. We don't do that stuff. So no, yeah, we we decided we would go. And Chris had already had straight up tequila from them. He was
Just
drinking
committing.
basically like just tequila in an hour or so, a lot of tequila. So apparently, unbeknownst to me, he was already blacking out. He was already blackout drunk when we got on the bus to go there. This
Wow.
is more his party story, but I was the witness, so I think I can tell this because he does not remember any.
It's valid. It tracks.
So I am a little tipsy, but I didn't have that much tequila. I was not drunk. I was the DD. I am the DD. Yes. So
Oh,
we got
yeah.
on the bus to go to Cocobongo. We get there. It's a pool party, and we're in this pool-ish, like, I don't know, thing. With all these people with soap and just a lot of, yeah, and there's people dancing, and there's all these, I think there were these women dressed up as nurses. And yeah, there's a video of him with this woman, this couple that we met on her phone of Chris dancing with Mexican guys.
He was just having his best night of his life.
And he does not remember this. And I was not able to like exchange phone numbers with these people, so I have no idea um, where they are,
It,
who they are now.
it just
But
lives
anyway,
on in the wild.
the night ended with him being taken in a wheelchair back to our hotel room.
The story just goes every step of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he
that
committed to
was
the bit.
that was insane. Yes, he did not remember anything, and I did not know when he had blacked out. That I found out later, and I was shocked that he did a lot of it blacked out.
Wild. All right, so next question we have is what is the craziest thing you witnessed or experienced in your 400 days abroad?
Oh my gosh! Oh, this is hard. Is somebody getting undressed at a bus stop in Lisbon count? Like totally changing their clothes, everything, getting down fully naked and then dressing.
Oh, they're just full suns out, buns out, changing. This is where my
Yeah,
life is at.
yeah, somebody, I think it was, yes. I think it was an old man, and yeah, that was sort of, but I don't know if that was like, I mean, that stands out, yes. Like, I remember it,
Yeah,
but then, yeah, I guess maybe I will just go with that one.
that's valid. Next one we've got is what is your longest run without sleep? How long were you up for straight?
Let's see. This was probably just at the end because, again, we didn't do longer flights in jet lag. We kind of hopped from like neighboring country to neighboring country. So we went from Germany, from Munich to Seoul. And yeah, I don't think I got any sleep on that flight. So that was like 15, 16 hours maybe. I don't know. I didn't keep data on that one.
That's still quite a bit. Then what was the weirdest food you ate while you were out and about?
um, we are not huge experimenters with that, sadly. And again, not the person to ask that of. But I did have um, something that I've never would consider having here in the US, but it's probably available in a lot of places. A donut burger. So this was actually Nebraska meat in Valencia at a burger spot there, and their award-winning burger was this burger that was, the meat patty and a donut, and it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'm here for it. I support this. That sounds amazing.
I never thought that that sweet and savory combo would be amazing, but my gosh, it basically melted in my mouth. Yeah, I was blown away.
Mint. Perfect. Next question is, what is the nicest community you came across?
Nicest community. Again, I think I would say maybe Spain. Um, just because our Airbnb host was absolutely amazing. I still talk to her sometimes because she fosters cats. So she
Okay.
sent me pictures of the cats she's fostering. Um, she had her parents come and show us the Airbnb, and I don't know, it was like we felt so welcomed by them and by her. She was amazing throughout, very helpful. It felt like home. It felt like it was our home. And she didn't speak English. We didn't really speak much Spanish still. It's terrible, I know, but it's pretty hard. But she
Made it
explained
work.
everything to us in Spanish and we got it. And she was a sweet, sweet couple, a sweet old couple that welcomed us. And, we felt at home. I think, I mean, honestly, people are really nice all over the world. And
100%.
it, like, we encountered a few, of course, few mean, rude people, but overall, it was amazing. We felt welcome everywhere. We didn't feel, unsafe in, like, almost no places. And everybody was very accommodating and very nice to us, even apologizing for not having English menus, and us telling them, you do not have to have an English menu. Like, we
We'll make
we
it
don't
work.
need that, and it is fine. We have our phone, we can translate. Yeah, I think everybody was extremely nice.
Love that. Next question is, how has traveling changed your perspective on life?
Oh gosh. On life, this is like huge.
Right. No pressure, but what is the existential crisis moment you have right now from travel?
I think people are people everywhere. People are the same everywhere. A lot of the things that I did take away, I guess, was that here we are taking pictures of, this alley or this building, and there is somebody just walking, trying to get to work. So I think that you should be a tourist in your city one day of like the month or something, or like one day of the year or something, and look at it from a perspective of a newcomer. And I think you would find beauty and also novelty in it. So I think that was one of the things that I took away from it. Of course, there were so many things, but that was
Oh,
one
yeah.
major thing where you get lost in life, you get lost in the daily struggle, and you forget as to where you live. Like how nice, how beautiful the Rocky Mountains are. You know, how beautiful the lush greenery of Nashville is, or how
Mhm.
great country music is, or
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know, anything that is something that other people come to your city for. I go and appreciate that as a tourist, like one day out of the year.
No, that's solid. I can appreciate that. The next one is humanity terrible?
No.
No. Immediate no, she says.
Humans, maybe. No, no. No, the people were amazing. Like I said, I didn't expect it. I loved it. And I think they are maybe more welcoming than Americans were to me in many ways.
Okay. Next one is, what was the kindest and what was the rudest culture?
Oh, gosh. um, Maybe kindness was Panama.
Panama. Okay.
Yeah, we were in a building of what? 20, 30 floors or something. And every time we were in the elevator, everybody would say hello and bye, like every single time. I also got used to doing that. It is something that is done a lot more in other cultures. You always say hello when you enter an establishment, and you always say goodbye when you're leaving the establishment. And they were just doing this in the elevators, and nobody else really did that as much in elevators, but they did that.
Right.
Um, Rudess? I don't know. Vancouver? I'm kidding.
No, it sounds like you didn't really have
Uh,
too many experiences with rude people then.
no, not really. No, I'm joking about Vancouver. We were only at the airport. Actually, the UK. Yes, at the airport, the security lady was extremely rude to me.
One of these days, you and I will have to compare our stories with customs agents because I've got a few just with customs agents of the country.
Oh gosh, yeah, she was extremely rude to me. That I remember. But yes, that's just Britain for you, I think. When you're this color, maybe.
That's unfortunate. Last question is, did you get sick abroad? And if so, how was interacting with other countries'
Oh, good one.
medical
Yes,
system?
I did. I got sick quite a bit actually, because it's a year of traveling, and it's a year of different atmospheres and different air quality, and also you're on the move. And when you're on the move, you do tend to get injured maybe a little bit more. Um, so first of all, my allergies terrible. So I had the best care in Spain. I got tested for allergies, and, figured out what was wrong with me, and got very good care there. Again, my Airbnb host, she helped me, to kind of navigate the system a little bit. I paid 150 euros, which is roughly $140 or something, to see a specialist without seeing a PCP, without doing anything else, without having any kind of insurance, anything like
Hmm.
that. Um, and that was great, amazing care. I also had a dental emergency in Panama. Again, amazing care, awesome doctors, awesome dentists, and that was maybe roughly $300 overall. I had to get a crown, and again, like no insurance, no nothing, paid out of pocket. No problem getting, um, getting an appointment, all of that. Uh, Very good. Again, I would recommend going to
Yeah.
Panama.
Did you get like international health insurance while you were out and about, or no?
I did not.
You did
No,
not. Okay.
no.
Because I know it exists. I've seen people offer it, but I'm like, I don't know anybody that's actually used it, and I was hoping you had, so I could ask you all about it.
I think traveler's insurance probably is a good idea in case you break a leg and you need to be flown back or something like that. Possibly if you have something major happen. And most credit cards offer that also, I think, if of course, booked your travel
Yeah.
with that. Um, Medical insurance overall, I knew outside the US, it is not a big deal to have to go to a doctor and, pay out of pocket. Of course, always have emergency funds.
Oh
Always
yeah.
make sure that you are secure financially before embarking on something crazy like this. Do not
Yeah.
just think that you could just go. You should have a backup plan always, and have, family support or friend support or whatever. But yeah, I think, and I would definitely say that healthcare was not an issue overall. Yeah.
It's really not, and I think we go into a huge thing of American versus other countries' healthcare. But I think just to summarize, it's a much bigger deal in the States than it is abroad. And if you need it abroad, it might cost you a few bucks out of pocket, but compared to what you're going to pay here anyways, it's probably cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. And it would be,
Yeah.
I mean, same level of care, I would think, and like very good
Oh,
level of care.
100%.
Most people, most doctors do speak English. You know, it is a universal language. We are lucky to be able to speak English and have everybody also learn our language. Um, so yeah, I think again, I did have a bad experience too, but that's kind of it happens as a in the medical field. Of course, everybody gets jaded, and it's just their job at the end of the
Yeah,
day. um,
unfortunately.
yeah, but I mean, I took care of my dental health. I had teeth cleanings done, and all of that, and in vastly different countries. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Don't sweat it.
That's about it.
Awesome. Well, Mara, as always, you're always amazing to talk to. Love hearing about your stories, your experiences, the wonderful food, the travel, the logistics, and the experiences of it all.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, this was
Of
great.
course.
Yeah, it's good to kind of relive this of a few times in
Right.
3 months or 4 months now
Right. That's right.
with a lot of different people.
Next time you travel abroad, we're doing one of these in every place you stop. We're just gonna do it in
Oh,
real time.
oh my gosh.
Like I know you're here, you can't tell me you don't know what the food is like. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and hope to catch you on other ones of these.